Just about the most important thing when you're taking a profile or PR photo, or in fact any type of portrait, is to get a decent light on your face. It's also best to have a clean, fairly uncluttered background. Now, to avoid the photo looking like some kind of cheap snapshot, you need to keep your face out of direct sunlight. The sun creates hard shadows on your face and shiny bits on your cheeks and foreheads, and it's just going to ruin the photo. Also, unless you're wearing sunglasses, the chances are you're going to be squinting. Don't bother trying to use flash indoors either. That creates shadows, maybe gives you red eye, shiny bits on the cheeks and forehead, and just creates really what is just a snapshot. What we're looking for is a soft, smooth light on your face that's really going to flatter you. Obviously, you could go to a photographic studio where they have lighting specially for portraits, but that's going to cost you money. This is something you can do for yourself, and the results you get will be just as good, if not better. Even on a bright, cloudy day like today, generally perfect for portraits, what happens is your eye sockets cover your eyes a little bit and make them go a tiny bit darker. Also, it creates shadows underneath your eyes. I'm going to show you a terrific lighting technique that gets over these problems and is perfect for portfolio and PR type shots. Professional photographers call this type of lighting open shade or top shade, and the general idea is that you position yourself under something that protects the light coming from directly above. That could be an awning, a porch, an archway, or just even opening your front door and stepping inside. Anything that protects the light coming directly from above. And once you've found a place like that, you just need to step inside a few feet. If you go too far in, then the effect is lost and the light will be too flat on your face. If you step too far out, then the effect is lost completely and you may as well just be standing outside in the open. You're probably thinking now, I'm not convinced that standing in a doorway is going to give me professional looking results. What possible difference could that make? But I promise you, the light you get from this technique is going to amaze you. You get lovely, soft, smooth light, and it also brings out the colour in your eyes and makes them look a little bit sparkly. It's what I use for all the photos in the introduction to this film. So let's go and see how it works in practice. We're lucky enough to have Lara modelling for us here today, and it's a nice bright day, but it's quite cloudy. If you have a look carefully at the light on Lara's face now. Lara, if you just look at the camera, you'll see that her eyes are probably a little bit dark and she's got some shadows underneath her eyes, and that's caused by the light, most of the light coming from above. What we're going to do now is move inside and see how the light changes on her face. I'm just going to bring the camera closer. Let's bring it even closer. And you can see now the way the light has changed on her face. It's a beautiful soft light. You can see the colour in her eyes, and also notice the way her eyes have a little catch light to make them a little bit sparkly. Looks great. So this is the light we're going to use now for our profile picture. Now that Lara's standing in this great light, we need to now think about the background. When you're shooting into a room, what tends to happen is the background will go quite dark. So it doesn't matter too much about what's in the background, but you do want to leave it fairly uncluttered. Now, in our room, I've got some pictures in the background, there's a few bits and pieces, there's an open door. What I want to try and do is avoid anything sticking out the back of Lara's head. So I may have to just change the angle of the camera slightly. But it's not too much of a concern because the background does tend to go dark when you're shooting into a room. If you do prefer a lighter background, then just choose some top shade with an open area behind it, like this parasol, for example. I sometimes use this children's play area in the park. You can see it has a roof with the open areas around the side. Gives a perfect light for portraits. Now let's look at a couple of poses you can use. We'll try both standing and seated posing. It doesn't really make too much of a difference because it's only going to be a head and shoulders photo. Now the first thing you want to do is just turn 45 degrees to the side. That will make you look a little bit slimmer and it will make the photo look a little bit more interesting as well. Now, once you've done that, you want to just rest on one leg, usually the leg furthest away from the camera, just resting on that leg. That will put your body in a better position. Also, when you turn 45 degrees, it's not just a matter of turning around like this. You want to actually turn your feet around. Make sure the shoulders are a little bit open, so you're not completely turned to one side. And that's about it. That's all there is to a standing pose. So we're all ready to take the photo. I'm going to use just a compact camera here. It doesn't matter at all what type of camera you use. You can even use a smartphone. But I just want to demonstrate that fact by using a simple compact camera. Okay, I'm going to zoom in nice and close. Yeah, that looks great. The light is beautiful, nice pose. And we can zoom in a little bit further just by doing a little bit of cropping. Here's a couple of tips for seating poses. Again, we're in the same light. We now want to turn the body at 45 degrees like we did before. So Lara, if you just turn slightly to the side, that's it, that looks good. And sometimes you just need to lean towards the camera a little bit. Be careful you don't have your head up too high. If you just turn your head up, point up, you see the head looks like it's leaning back a bit. So sometimes you want to just put your chin down a little bit. That looks great. One alternative to that seating pose is turning the chair back to front and sitting astride the chair, and then you can come a little bit forward and just lean on it, fold your arms on the chair, and that's another nice pose. Let's try a shot of that and see how it looks. Yes, that looks quite nice. You do have to be careful that the back of the chair is not too low or too high, otherwise it's going to put you at the wrong angle. Generally speaking, you don't have to worry too much about camera settings when you're using this method, but there are a couple of things you should be aware of. First of all, make sure you turn your flash off. That's because we're using natural light to take the photo, and you don't want the light from the flash to interfere with that. On some cameras, you have to take the camera out of the auto mode in order to be able to turn the flash off and back on again, so you might have to consult your manual. The other thing is, if you are shooting into a room like we are today and the background has gone a little bit dark, then you might find your face is actually too light, and that's because the camera will compensate for the dark areas and try and lighten everything up. There's a couple of ways around this. There's something called exposure compensation, where you can brighten or darken the photo, or you can use something called spot metering, where you meter just on your face or the person's face. Probably exposure compensation is a little bit easier. Now, if you're not sure how to do that, just look up your manual. Most cameras are able to use exposure compensation, but you'll only need it if the face is too light. So that's about it. You can see how easy it is to get great results using this simple method. In the next film, there's some tips which will show you how to improve the photo and refine it even further. See you then.